Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kim Harrison Edwards. Here. Councilwoman Sherry Rogers. Here. Councilman Randy Bowen.
There.
Councilwoman Debbie Gummer. Councilman Herb Curtis. City Manager Nate Stansberry.
Right.
City Attorney Brian Bailey.
Here.
Finance Director Susie Johnston. Here. Chief Josh Thomas. Chief Jimmy Settle.
Excused.
Building Code Zoning Enforcement Officer Marty Lewis.
Here.
Street Commissioner Mike Starrett.
Here on the phone.
Sanitary Director DeGette.
From sunny Florida.
Yes, it should be all the way.
Any public comment? Okay. Under old business, the 4th Street Bridge construction update.
Well, I've been told, bridge should be finished here before the end of the month. We met with them last week, early in the week. The subject of the meeting was they felt that there might be a necessary additional change order. And so we went down there and spoke to them about all the different things that we saw that needed to be completed by the contractor, and got the typical answer, well, we're not sure, we don't know what's in the contract and all that other stuff. And I said, well, let's have a meeting once their supervisor gets back. He was on vacation from there. That's supposed to be early this week at some point. But there's the major issues, I think, is the transitioning between the bridge structure and the hillside. Like they dug out some of the hillside to put the structure in there, and they're acting like that's putting the dirt back isn't part of the contract. And then the paving limits of the contract, they need a lot more paving than was in the contract, so they're wanting additional payment for that. And then one issue that was brought up is that the bridge deck where the abutments meet, there's a construction joint there. There's a gap or not gap. Lip. That's exactly what it's looking for. A lip from half an inch to an inch almost in places, which is a huge issue for plowing, truck or anything like that. So I told them, I said, I don't think we're in any position where we're ready to accept the bridge with that condition still being present without some kind of remedy being put forth. And so I think all that goes into this whole change order question. You guys negotiate, figure out where you need to get to make sure these things get resolved, and then we can talk. So they were supposed to take that sentiment back to the contractor and then set up a meeting here this week at some point to talk about it further. That's all I have on it.
The workers were.
Yeah, the Department of Highways reps. Yeah, that's who we met with.
They agreed though.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of like, well, what do you guys want to do? And that's, it's not really us to figure out. It's your responsibility to make sure we have a good response. So we'll support you in whatever we can. Exactly. Yeah. Agreed. So.
Also, could you double check? Because from what my understanding is contractors are supposed to maintain right of way.
Like the traffic control.
Could you check it out?
We were told we were gonna get some kind of language about that at the meeting previously. We've never received it. But
You know, so that way, then they need to be responsible for fixing the windows on that.
Great. I'll look at that further.
I can give you.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Later.
Is that all on 4th Street Bridge?
I think so, unless there's any other questions. That's all I have.
So Randy, when we're gonna have our ribbon cutting on the bridge, Ward 2 and Ward 3.
Well, and you want to talk about your naming proposal a little bit? That is the Department of Highways, and that's not within their system or anything of that nature. So it's
Not the Randy Bowen Bridge, is it?
Ray Bowen Jr., I think. You want to talk about that, Randy? What you're kind of thinking?
The bridge, a name for the bridge.
Well, yeah. I don't know the name. That's the problem.
Oh, I thought you
I
were.
give you the,
Yeah, you gave me the information.
I don't know the name.
Oh.
but Randy brought a person who, I think we think he lived up on Buck Hill.
Yeah.
We have some family still in this area.
He's some relation to. That's her name Fisher. And
Leave it back.
yeah, that's her. I think it's her, might be her uncle, Scott Walker, Scott, her brother. We sort of fish. Anyway, they brought it to me before I was even on city council. That's how long I've had it. And I gave him all the information. They filled out all the applications, put all the information in. A lot of different stuff they got from state, the location, everything. I just, whatever we can. It's just up to what you all want to
So what
do.
did he do? What did he do?
He was at Pearl Harbor.
Oh,
Yeah, he was the first guy killed from Lewis County in World War II.
I didn't know. That's why I was
Yeah,
waiting for someone.
Usually they are military.
Yeah.
I was wondering too.
And I think it's, the one I understood from the state, I emailed him that, we had an application, but that was for state bridges. Since it's our bridge, I think we can make any decision we want on it, state pretty much, so it's not our system, so we want to anything to do with it, so. It's kind of you all on it. It's something we could either try to time for the ribbon cutting if you really want to, or if we want to do it later, I think we could do it later. On Pearl Harbor Day. December 7th, we hope the bridge is done before then, but. That would be a bad idea if we don't Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
Even if we open the bridge up.
That's where he got killed at.
Yeah.
Well, they have the bridge naming ceremonies. And then separate from the thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think that.
There's a thing. December 7th. Yeah. Let's see what day that is.
Right.
No, Wednesday.
Okay. So who's gonna gather the information about the proper name and all that stuff? Biographical info.
You and I want to work on it together?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that, I've got a lot of the contact.
They had
Yeah.
quite a bit of information listed in the application.
Okay.
Randy gave me a copy of that. so-
They live across the street.
Wait,
Will be a sign place there too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or, we got a little bit of time.
okay, not a bronze plaque. You don't, I don't know what you do.
Usually they put
This is green sign.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
reflective sign.
The application said he was buried at sea, didn't it? Thank you.
Well. Batman trophies, they do them from like they're 700 or so.
You may get the county sign shop.
Okay.
That's them, such as right.
Probably get
Do
the
they do the
military
bronzes?
museum and the,
Oh, we want.
or the,
Not necessarily.
veterans.
Oh, no.
Want them to get involved in
That's
that.
what's pondering it. Okay. Next, street paving, additional paving funds.
Okay, well. The short and sweet of it is I think we're not gonna have enough money to get our list done. And so I've given you,
Word for it.
a list of streets.
I have it.
I have it.
No, that's not, there was another one.
It's gonna go.
Well, I thought I threw it in there, but. I'm really miles an hour.
So my understanding that according to this, word forward costs this much and
So, okay, the list that you have in front of you, your Tyler prepared for that for you.
okay,
And so these are the streets that, up on top there. This is what we estimated the cost of 95,546 for these sections of streets.
right,
This is what has been done so far, for about 100 tons over, so we're 15 grand over our, what we're projected we be, these streets being done. And I think one of the bigger issues with that is that our roads are so terrible
they were,
that when you overlay them, they're trying to hit this level, and make them smooth, and we got a lot of divots and stuff, at least that's what the paver was telling us. On this section here, we had some brick streets, and we milled down, we hit the brick, and then it rained, And then when they brought the paver through, they had to go thicker because the bricks was moving and they were delaminating the pavement and things of that nature as well. So. Really, we have two solutions. If you want to pave everything we have, we've got to spend more money. And I think we can go, or we've got to cut some streets. That's really what's before us.
How much more money and what do you recommend?
You know, we've probably got a third of it done at this point, I'd say, and we're already 15 grand over. And so you're probably looking at, I'd say 40,000.
40,000. Okay.
Yeah, if you just, my thought was if you guys wanted to authorize us to finish the list, you just do the list, whatever it ends up being, it ends up being. We try to squeeze out as much of it as we can to keep it low, like we've been really heavy with them saying we only want 1.5 inches on these additional streets. So like I said, a lot of the stuff is required more, they've had to put scratch codes in there to level things up to the
Yep.
paver level and things of that nature.
Well, we've heard in some of these texts and some of these thank you emails that some streets haven't been paid for 35 years.
In the past, we are to assign a dollar amount to our authorization, so would it be okay to approve up to 40,000? And
addition?
if you need any additional, you come back to council.
I can do that, that's how it's for, I'm fine either way.
I think that's what we should do for the.
I'll move to approve an additional 40,000. Street paving budget.
It's been
And
moved.
that's from ARPA.
From ARPA funding.
Okay. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump. Yes. Councilman Herb Curtis.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
From the sanitary department, constant raising. We talked about.
We talked about obtaining those total costs. I don't have those from her.
What's sorry, what's going on?
The manhole covers and accessories that the sanitary board purchased for the paving issue. There was a discussion at the sanitary board about that.
That's a lot of cost to them. So they've had to replace a lot of the rings. And the inlet things too, the little.
The manhole.
Manhole.
Around
So
manhole.
there's a stormwater fund for that purpose, but we wanted to
But we're
know.
doing the drain rings. I mean, we're doing drains out stormwater, manhole covers, probably the lids and
Yeah,
lids and drain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they said they didn't have enough on hand, so they had to.
I mean, if we want to try to reimburse them, I'm fine with it. Then we work at the total, I guess, but. A utility typically does that. Like the water company doesn't send us a bill for paving. They have to raise the structures when we pay.
Right.
Yes.
but there's stormwater funds that can be used for that purpose, right?
I think it's stretched the drains, like the drains we have been doing, right? We're raising those covers, we're putting new covers on there and we're paying for that with stormwater funds.
Okay,
Sewer manhole lids, we got sewer costs.
we don't know what the total cost is yet.
No. We'd have to pay for it out of probably ARPA or something like that, if we're kind of check, but that's stuff that they've got to. Part running a utility, they gotta be able to raise their lids and stuff, and
Well, taking that, we haven't paved hardly any streets
I know,
in the
it's not
last
everybody
30
will live flat, but
years. And it's, you know, it's an unexpected cost to them.
understood, I understand.
So I can actually see that they're going to sign it as well.
And so we don't set a precedent, I guess, they need to
No,
have that kind of stuff.
That's what
on
I'm
it.
saying.
Yeah.
You know, they had enough to do, but they didn't have enough to do.
Yeah.
Well, the massive amount of streets.
Okay, mutual aid agreement with Buchanan.
Hey, Josh. Yes. We'll speak that mutual aid agreement, what's going on there?
So, I mean, we consistently throughout time, we are, we currently have a mutual aid agreement with Buchanan. We have one, probably something out there floating around with the sheriff's department, and probably some floating around with the state police. And You know, I mean, it's hard to tell what other agencies we may have them floating around with. But basically, the chief from Buchanan called me. He just wanted to update it because in January, they're gonna start holding planning meetings where they're hosting that's world's largest band competition or whatever it is next summer. And so, he just wanted to kind of revise it and update it, just for in the event that you would need to call or plan for, maybe some of our guys to go over and help direct traffic or, whatever the case may be.
What's the time period of this, Josh? Do you remember? Off the top of your head?
Time period of,
The mutual aids like have an expiration date or? is it-
they typically don't, have, I mean, it just depends, some agencies always, they do put expiration dates on, some don't.
It's like a memorandum of understanding.
I mean, it really is, I mean, they're just it's a very basic, just kind of a. And you would find that they're all pretty much written very similar, it's kind of one of those cookie cutter kind of things. And, but yeah, that's all.
I'll move to approve the related agreement between the city of Weston.
Is there a second? Sorry, Debbie.
Yes, I second.
Oh, okay, sorry. That's okay. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gum.
Yes.
Councilman Herb Curtis.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next downtown camera discussion.
All right, I think everybody's been provided with a copy of the RFP for the downtown. All off the press, there may be some typos in there, I didn't get a chance to go through it today. I'll do that tomorrow. Essentially, I took one of our requests for bids and I changed bids to proposals, and the reason I did that is I think that we need. One of the big issues out there with the cameras, the Camry project is that it's not just buying cameras, it's buying, you gotta have hardware to be able to hook the cameras up, you gotta have power to hook the cameras up. And I think that the camera thing is written for specifications generic enough for multiple different camera models when we, the specifications. And so we really, they have 360 view or 180 or 270 or whatever they have, it's gonna be on a model by model basis. But instead of saying, hey, we're bidding out 25-inch tires, I think we're asking for suppliers or installers, call the contractor in this bid to come to us and say, this is the things we want a camera, tell us what you think needs to be done here. And let's get a price on that, and then we can go into kind of a negotiation / iterative process where we get what we want. So that's how I tried to write this RFP. Like I said, I try to use it all with camera language and bids to kind of protect us from wrongdoing and failure to perform and all that stuff. And I guess at the end of the day, what you really care about is like, what are we targeting? That the specifications for the camera came from Max, that who this came from, RFP. So, I just copied and pasted. I changed a few things in there that I didn't feel like they were particular to a certain project or something like that.
Thank you for the time frame of work, 60 days for completion.
We're learning, aren't we?
Yeah, well, and I figure they're gonna bulk at that, but, it's something that we can work with them on, but I felt like, 60 days install camera shouldn't be that much time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think where you're gonna run into issue is what infrastructure is being installed prior to the payment.
Yeah.
Yes, and through the whole process, I've not been able to get a clear answer on that. Other than I know we need power, we need internet, but nobody can really tell me where those are gonna come from.
Okay.
and we'll just work with them. I think that's the whole point, like give us a price of what you guys think it's gonna cost, and then we'll identify who we wanna work with through that, and maybe technology, maybe look at the cameras, for this one, we'll upload 24 hours, or upload 2 hours, we'll make those kind of decisions, right? On what technology we want to go with, and then at that point, I think they should have looked at the sites and at least know some of the challenges for getting power and they go to those areas, and then we can start working on that. Maybe it's a thing where we install the meter drops and get the power and internet there before they ever commence work, and then those things are already there.
Well, that was, that was previously mentioned that, if there was power, existing power that they could tie into, they would do that, but if there was not, then it would revert back to us to bring the electrician in to have that ready. You know what I mean? And so we don't know. I think Max has been very, Max sells the cameras.
Right.
And, I'm sure I'm not overly, pleased with the installer or what would be,
Does he not have anybody else here?
well, I
Company.
that's something over there. Is because I just, I get it. Well, yeah, man, let's see, and there's no concrete answers. Installer that's
Okay,
We'll work with them. We'll look to the proposal sheet on the back. We've got the municipal building, the fire department, the street garage, Lively Park, Oak Creek Park, Willow Park. And all these are subject to change and negotiation, but I
wait a
thought
minute, where was that?
on the very page 8 of that proposal,
Oh,
that's
I
like,
thought these were supposed to be at.
well, I'm working my way down through there.
Okay, thanks.
Willow Park, we stuck Whalen Park on there, and I think that one's like pending one, right?
Personally,
Not ours,
I would
right.
like to see one there, but I can't also, there's a private property kind of thing there. But we do, you know what I mean, we have, as I explained to me today, when I brought that up, is there's just, there's such a recipe for problems there. And so maybe if we stuck it out on the roadway. and that's
Yeah,
not-
I mean, I think that whole relationship, private Whalen Park needs to be kind of examined and figured out, but if it's something that.
It's worked for years and I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, if we, maybe we said we want to sign an agreement, put a camera down there.
Right.
That's,
Lewis County First actually pays their liability insurance now every year.
Oh, really?
That's what's that. There's things that'll pop up with that, but we just stuck it on here. We're essentially getting a price this one, right?
Okay.
See what that would look like. If there's too many hoops to jump through, we can do that. I'm not too worried about it. Second in Maine, which includes the LPR, which is a license plate reader. I need some specifications of that. Those specs.
It's a camera, it's gonna be the same, but it's gonna be just dedicated for license plates, and then there's an additional camera that shows the overall.
Okay. All right. And as long as we have some
Oh,
kind
I
of
see.
clue what that is, we'll stick that in there. Second and center, first in Maine and fourth in Maine. And I'll include some maps for people out of town, know where these places are.
Oh.
I mean, it wouldn't, I don't think we would see the benefit from it.
I wouldn't say that's where all the backpackers are anymore.
And I understand that, but it's like, we're not gonna be able to identify what the, you know what I mean, like,
I understand.
yeah, I saw maybe hand hurt something, but I can't say what it is, and so. That's the problem.
Yeah,
There too.
yeah.
So you only have in the one place where they're gonna read the license?
Streetwalkers. And
You need to then all the sorry and see later.
Everywhere. I'm not tracking, I'm sorry.
okay,
I can't get it very
I
well.
still want to say that.
What'd you say? After
Okay.
purple shade.
I'm not, I probably won't be ready to put this out to the public
Lady
till
Walker.
end of the week. So if you guys want to read over this, have any comments,
Oh, I think so.
feel free to get them back to me. I got a circle one stuff here we've already had there.
If you and cheaper,
Two of those.
we don't have to.
It includes,
I heard him say that.
no, I didn't go to Glenville, I'm sorry.
Well, for instance, that hit and run that they had a while back.
Oh, yeah.
If we would have had these cameras, it would have been solved. For 10 minutes.
But honestly, those are the cameras from my building installed it once.
Right, exactly.
Sure. Because when I did the cameras for the building there, there's not really a whole lot inside. A lot of them are gonna be on the exterior. And they're for asset protection, but they're gonna be.
Let's go.
Too many legal fees for disciplinary. It's like to charge someone other than protecting your assets.
As far as like charging someone with a criminal offense.
Like you're talking about someone's here, yeah.
I mean, it's just like a surveillance camera, it's your business, but you go the whole time. I mean,
If they drive by and stickers down on their license plate or.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
That's not
Yours dead.
I was kind of covering myself.
Yours dead.
No.
No, it's all stickers.
I know.
No place here.
Oh, you don't, okay.
No license plate.
Oh, license plate, that's right, that's.
We ready to move on to new business?
Yeah, I guess if you have any other comments, be given to me by the end of the week, that'd be helpful, and otherwise I'll try to get it out and get that rolling.
And I'm gonna step outside and set up this computer and stuff.
Thanks, John.
Attorney General Rite Aid opioid settlement agreement approval.
Remember, oh, it's been a couple months ago, we signed a memorandum of understanding to, I guess, join in as plaintiffs in an attorney general suit against Rite Aid. And part of that was to just kind of get in the door to become part of any particular settlement that Rite Aid and the attorney general could reach. And they've reached a settlement at this point. And so part of that settlement agreement is the attorney general has to get some percent of the. I need to go back about 2 seconds. Groups who signed on to this thing are counties or municipalities. Those are called participating local governments. And so the attorney general has to get some percentage of the participating local governments to sign on to this final settlement. And so that's what this is right here is just us, for lack of a better word, giving our check mark to say, yep, we can live with this settlement. And we would get some percent. I forget what the specific number was. I think we're going to get allocated something like $50,000. But we just can't go spend it on anything. We have to spend it on predetermined concepts to deal with drug opioid type, like battling opioid use or whatever.
We don't
So that's
have
what
to
this is.
develop that as programs, we can give it to
There's a
an
list,
existing program, correct?
right. Like you could buy a police car
We can,
or
When you donate to the county to the needle, what's that program they have?
no, wait a minute,
I think that needle.
Oh.
exchange.
Needle
Yes.
exchange. We can.
I think it'd be a good thing to donate to.
there's a broad, I guess, clause that says something to the effect of anything that can be used to help deter
Feature.
opioid use or something. like
Oh,
that.
so.
I don't specifically quote me, don't vote just because you think we can get drugged on.
Okay.
But-
The municipal league hosted a webinar, but I did not set in on that one. But I'm sure they would have some information on
I'm
what
sure.
others are doing.
Okay,
So I just think this is I mean, if you want, I hate to make it sound like this, if you want the 50,000 or whatever the number is, you gotta sign on. Now, our other option is if we feel that Weston has more than $50,000 worth of whatever damage by Rite Aid, we can seek we can go outside the scope of this attorney general agreement or attorney general settlement and do our own litigation against Rite Aid, which I don't necessarily think that's appropriate, to be honest with you, but that's up to you.
I would move to approve the Attorney General Rite Aid opioid settlement agreement.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gumps. Yes. Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Before we get too far, sign I'll step off on that mic. Yeah. Look good and purple, represent that.
Yeah.
So you just sign by and then we'll go on the rest of it.
Thank you.
$50,000 really was the thing you were gonna get? I thought there was something was like 0.085%, $30 million or whatever.
Oh,
Remember.
it was. Oh, it's down. It's-
Appoint ratified Chamber of Commerce representative to Municipal Fees Appeals Board.
I don't think we got represented yet, have we, from the Chamber of Commerce? We were hoping to. Ray Smith was appointed by the chamber to be the representative. And maybe because he was the director at that
I'd say
time.
that's probably why.
And I think he's still a member, right, of the Chamber of Commerce. And so I don't really see any issues why he couldn't remain as long as they're fine with that.
As long as he's fine.
Yeah, all parties, yeah,
We can look and see if he still wants to do it.
okay,
So do you want a table for tonight?
please.
I move the table.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance 2022-13 amendment to municipal fees board for substitute members.
I think we've got a couple issues here. The fee. We have a board of 3. And if one of the members would happen to be absent or have a conflict or whatnot, then it creates a 2-person board, which is a quorum, but results in a 1-1 tie in a worst case scenario. So the municipal fee board, the ordinance from 2009 isn't very clear on what to do when there's an absence or an incapacity or a conflict of interest or whatnot. And so I think what this ordinance does is try to fill that gap in the ordinance. Well, I think the 2009 ordinance brings. Well, it uses, I guess, 3 different scopes of people to draw from, one from council, one from the Chamber of Commerce. Or, well, not from the Chamber of Commerce, somebody at the Chamber of Commerce can approve of it. And then somebody from the general public. And so the substitution methods I tried to keep in the same vein as how those.
You wanna- Motion to.
And I think there's an issue. I'm sorry.
Right.
How does he answer it?
Oh, okay. And this is a tough topic. I think there's a recusal issue at the present time in the room. I think it,
Really?
I think it's generally known that a councilman has a issue, let's say, before the municipal fees.
Pending.
Pending. And so I think a vote on this issue creates a conflict from the standpoint of voting on an issue that the councilman has a financial interest in. So.
So they need to be,
So I think the council needs to recuse. Before the vote, before this thing passes.
Just as easy to get up and walk out, is that what?
Yeah.
I don't think he does.
You don't have to leave. You just don't.
Recusal,
No, you
no,
just
no.
recuse yourself from the vote.
State, no,
Oh, all right.
state law says you gotta leave the room.
Okay. I'll move to have the first reading by title only of ordinance 2022-13.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gale. Yes. Councilman Herb Thurston.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
And the minutes have to reflect the
But the
the council member.
I did, I read
Ordinance 2022-13, creation of substitute members of Municipal Service Fees Appeals Board. First reading by title only.
We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Okay.
I'll move to approve. Ordinance 2022-13 by title, but only for the first read.
Second,
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved and second. Roll call voting again.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump. Yes. Councilman Herb Curtis.
Motion carries.
Randy, there's something else.
No.
Okay.
What's next on the list?
This is
Oh,
be in here,
okay.
so there wouldn't be any animosity based on your votes.
Quotation for rental ice skating rink.
Okay, we put in the budget. For the Parks and Rec to have $15,000 for the ice skating rink. And time is quickly coming upon us to have that rink, or at least to commit ourselves to purchasing or renting that rink, I should say. For the Christmas parade. They run out of slots and stuff like that. I've been going back and forth with this all year Sports Galaxy and Wheeling that rents these rent ranks. I had a second quote that's pending right now with Gleiss is the name of the company, Gleiss, something like that. But they're quite a bit expensive just over the phone. They gave me kind of a ballpark figure and it was quite a bit more. So really what we're looking at is kind of bringing up to speed, and we don't have to approve this tonight, because I was hoping to get further with this. I didn't get an official quote from them today. What we're looking at is a 40 by 28 fake ice rink. All right, it's a plastic composite material that you can use regular ice skates on. It'll be, we're shooting for November 23rd through December 4th. There's a quotation in your packet here. If you see that, you know what those dates stand very on it. And what we're trying to do is have it here for the Friday where there's the Christmas parade, and we thought that'd be kind of the day we open her up and let everybody skate after the Christmas parade. And probably we're gonna try to light a Christmas tree, I think, at Holt property, and that's kind of the objective of the Parks and Rec is to have this at Holt property and have this kind of simple thing. And then the hope is to be able to rent it throughout that week, let people skate maybe in the evening time as we can find volunteers to man the area. And then have it for Miracle on Main Street the following weekend. And then that one will pack her up and set her back off.
Are there ice skates that look this?
Yes,
Okay.
there are. Yeah,
100 pairs.
yeah, that's what we understand it to be, and I've got to confirm all that still. One of the big challenges is that this is the base of the structure's got to be really level. And if not, there's a subfloor that has to be installed, and that has a $5 per square foot additional rider cost on that. And so I mentioned dirt to her, and she's like, I don't think that'll work. So I'm in the process of trying to figure out what we can make work to try to avoid that subfloor.
That's too bad because Lewis County First is ready to bring the dirt in.
Bringing the dirt in.
Yeah,
And I wonder if it's like, is it something where we can like form up the dirt, and compact it really good, well, make a real nice hard surface.
Got to tamp it down, do a tamper.
Yeah, I would think he can, but I've got to have that conversation with him, make sure I'm not promising something that doesn't work.
is there a building that comes to store the?
I think there's some kind of shed that she'd mentioned. That's what I'm trying to get all these details kind of ironed out finally, make. Yeah, we've talked, even about our fire department has an additional building where they do the smoke training or whatever once a year. We thought, that has electric and stuff, and we wheel that thing down there to kind of have a place that's cold, people can go inside or keep stuff that is locked it up. But there's some logistics from the Parks Department, Parks group that we've got to work out, but. Said I put on the agenda because I need to make a commitment to this, but I don't have a quote that you guys can really approve tonight. So my thought is if you don't feel comfortable with it, I'm fine with that. But if it has to be authorized to spend up $15,000 to get this rental locked in, and then if you like, I'll come back to the next meeting, provide you the quote, and make sure we get it locked in and be ready to go. That makes sense.
for Parks and Rec.
For Parks and Rec.
You skate. You skate.
I broke my arm one time skating.
Now, I have a question. Is
Sure.
there a fee to skate? Are we trying to recruit money, make money
I think-
back, or what is the deal with it?
We've talked about it at Parks, and I think that that's the intent, is to charge a couple bucks to get people skating. One, to kind of. Kind of anticipate if it's free and it's parade night, there'll be more people than will have skates for, and we don't have a very big area. So the thought was, let's charge a small fee and make it, you know, you get $1 or $2 and you can skate for 30 minutes. Kind of try to keep people getting on and off quickly. And then hopefully that will bring money back, and then we have it for the week, hopefully people can come and rent and skate.
Probably need some signage there because when it's not operational, you know, people are gonna go out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, at your own risk.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, did you have anything you wanted to know?
What about, steel plates as a base instead of dirt? If they're concerned about dirt being soft. What about steel plates like we do on the roadways when we cover a hole?
I think we've got to think outside the box, see if we can save ourselves some money. If we can do it, I'd say, yes, let's do it. I've got to get them to
I
come
don't know,
along with it.
I don't know if we have any street departments, we probably.
I mean, for $5 a square foot, I think we can almost buy some plywood and build ourselves our own little platform. $5,000.
And then we also talked about too, the railing around and maybe selling signage to,
Sponsors or
Yeah,
advertisers that we can hang, you know, kind of like hockey, where they have things hanging around the sides of
We
it.
got a lot of spots on.
That's
That's
spring
spring taverns.
how much exactly did we get?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Good with that.
I did, I will also, approach a few more, businesses Larger businesses.
Appreciate that.
for, huh?
Oh, I thought you was talking about the sign around the ring.
No, well, just to sponsor the whole ring.
Oh.
Once we get a firm price and some information as to what we're doing. I was going to approach a couple of folks for, sponsorships. And also I talked about, if we need portable bleachers, then we'll talk with Johnson's Mill, some of these portable bleachers here, and if we need a shed, maybe, shed sales place where just to advertisement to use it for, you know. it's really something.
Now that alleyway is where the horses like to go.
Yes,
Good hope. Okay. That's the other thing, I think electrics, we've got to figure out some kind of.
it's just something.
We were talking about that this morning, about where to get electric from. We usually,
House with electric cost from the whole. town.
we usually borrow from Mr. Lake or we plug into the glass museum. So Ray is working up price for Lewis County First to put power on whole property permanently.
Okay.
And I think he was coming up with a price point of like $2,500. I was gonna try to include that in a grant submission tomorrow, hopefully. Let's see.
So hopefully we get some sponsors. Or it won't cost 15,000.
And I have an opportunity there too, from Civic Group or something, let's go out there and sell some hot chocolate or coffee or something.
Exactly.
Popcorn, stuff like that.
What's the cost of putting in a power service, Marty?
Or you're probably looking at the underground. Come off the pole underground. If you do, that's more expensive than ever had. 2,500 right now, if they put it, well, you don't need 100 amps. You probably do 100 amp service, even if it was underground for less than that.
Like when you, is it just the equipment that costs that much, or is there a feed them on power you gotta pay?
That more powers,
We'll drop
they
it.
don't start, yeah, they don't start anything, but, it's the cost of the equipment over the last couple of years, more than double.
Okay.
A meter main used to be $138, now they're $260.
Doesn't the inflation reduction still down?
It's in process right now.
We usually have to count on Ray's son, who's a certified electrician, to do it when he gets time. And sometimes it's a wait.
If they had,
Because a teacher would be certified.
I was gonna say, if they had the instructor, whether it was Robert Louder during the day or Mark Haney at night. And it still has to be inspected. Still gets the inspection. I mean, they've done services over there, the have classes. And stuff.
You do, sir?
Can I? Yeah. I might have done that. I mean, I'm not getting paid by the city to do it, so there's no conflict of interest that way if I'm doing it as an employee.
We'll talk about it. Figure out what we can do.
That sounds good.
If we go underground, I think we got a tractor to dig the ditch.
Okay. So are you requesting at this time or?
Whatever you all are comfortable with, I guess at a minimum, what I'd like to have is authorization to basically promise ourselves that we're going to rent this rate from her, to get on the schedule, yes. And then at that point, if you want to wait till I get a final quote, we're going to have to have a meeting here in the next couple of weeks, we can improve it then, if you'd like to say that. And we'll know some real numbers, we'll know what it's going to look like.
By then, I'll have an opportunity to check with some sponsors as well.
I just felt at this point, I've got to make a promise to her in the sense that, yeah, we want it done, and we're not going to get a bill for a while now.
So I guess at this time, I'll entertain a motion to allow the city manager to pursue the rental of an ice skating rink.
To agree.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Proposed purchase of used combo sewer jetter vacuum.
All right, make sure everything got in here.
What?
Have a list of all the ARPAs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's here. You did,
Expenditures.
yeah, it was right. It's right in the beginning somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, so a couple things. I'll use this to talk about. So we're writing a fee purchase order, purchase through this company, Custom Rebuild. And what they're out of Illinois, and they're gonna sell to $50,000 for what you guys authorized it for. It's a 2008 model. And I think I shared with you, didn't I send you guys a couple cut sheets of those things? The street sweeper was pretty decent on the hours and stuff, and they'll go through with the fine tooth comb and try to fix the things that they feel need to be fixed to make it work. And so that's, and the thought is what we'll do is we're gonna send, instead of paying $2,500 to ship it out here, they've offered to put our guys up in a hotel for a couple days. If we can get them there, feed them all that stuff, and then give them 2 days on training on the street sweeper, and then they'll drive it back from Chicago to here. It's hopefully it doesn't break down on the left. And we're trying to identify 2 folks that have their CDLs that want to go and all that stuff. So we'll get the PO out and they'll start probably spend 4 to 5 weeks, I'd say. Getting it. It's not hasn't been refurbished yet. They've been waiting for us to say yes, and then I'll move that to top of the get work.
You're saying
I have
street sweeper,
CDLs.
is it the sewer, is it the jetter?
I haven't got that far yet. I'm just
Oh,
using the
okay.
street sweeper down low.
That's an update.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
and
sorry.
I'm just using this opportunity.
Not CDL.
Yeah, CDL, but we might even send them. Yeah.
I send me.
Yeah.
There you go.
So this same, when we had on the horn talking about this stuff, they said we also do sewer jetters, and I said, well, we're looking for one. Of some sort, and I said, I'd look through just on the web, looking at different brands, and I said, I don't think we need anything super large, but I'd love to have something that could jet and suck material out of the sewer and storm sewer at the same time.
Okay. You're saying sewer.
Yeah, I've gone from street sweeper to the combination sewer cleaner.
You're talking ditches though, right?
No,
Ditches,
I'm talking pipes.
pipes, not sewer pipes though. That's sanitary board.
It is, yeah. The sewer pipe is a sanitary board, yeah, right. Storm sewers is a city. And so we would predominantly use this for, but it could be used for either type of pipe. That's what these machines are for.
Okay, so what the sanitary board, what my understanding, and I know nothing, but I didn't know anything about a lot of things until I started doing this, but I did a little bit of research and as I try to do on everything. What the sanitary board truck has is the wrong tool for the storm drains. It doesn't have the right. And I don't know what it's called, but thing on the end, right?
The nozzle.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't have the right, so it's the wrong application.
I won't go that far. I don't think they have the wrong, it's just it's a different tool. Their machine, from what I understand, they've got a vac or a pumper truck essentially. So they've got a jetter truck that just has a jetting, it's got a big tank on it and a jetter on the front. Or a hose reel, and they can jet stuff out, but they don't have any way of pumping it out unless they bring in their pumper truck. That just has the ability to pump stuff out, like, so if you have a septic tank, stick that hose down there and you can pump stuff out, or if you the manhole's full, they can stick their hose in there and pump it out. Where a combination cleaner has this big vacuum on the front of it, and so it's got the hose reel and the vacuum on front. And so you're standing over the hole at the same time, the same truck, and you're jetting and pulling that material back to yourself, and you're sucking that material with the water out of the hole at the same time.
Okay, so what you're talking about here is a completely different tool than what,
They're similar, but yeah, it's that they don't have the same function right now.
exactly, okay, it's like trying to use a Phillips screwdriver and you need a straight, right?
I would say
I'm
that.
trying to understand, but I understand that.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you have Phillips or a straight, you can kind of use it on Phillips, and you can kind of get by with it sometimes, but very difficult.
Yeah.
That's how I.
Okay, now I understand.
And so this is an older Vector, you know, a new Vector, the smallest model, 350,000 plus. You know, for that's a mini one, you know, big one's gonna cost you, it's almost $500,000. The one we bought around 600,000 8 years ago, when we bought it. We need a jetter to open up some of these storm lines. We know that a sanitary board has one, but they struggle to be able to provide the necessary support, I think, to get these things open for us. So we've talked about that a lot, and I think the new jetter, $45,000, you know, approximately, to be able to open up the storm sewer if you want. This machine, for another 50, we can get something that can do things to get the material out of there. Where right now, if we just jet them and come right down the street and wherever they go.
Hey, is this something that can help over there in your area?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, no, I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
massages.
Yeah.
Came and had that problem, got something we need to that area.
Well, it has like a snake reel where you're able to go inside like in the basement and run down through the drain back out to the street.
And this wouldn't be able to do that necessarily. But I think if you find on the downstream side of her drain, if you find that there's a plug up there, you can run this down the
Right.
downstream as long as you have access.
The Shady Brook issue with Fallon's. Is this?
Depending on what the issue is, I mean,
Okay,
we find a lot of pipes full of material. And, you know, our,
Storm,
if Mike's on the phone, I don't know if he can hear us or not, but he's not
Yeah, I
wrong.
can hear you.
He'll say, you know, our only option right now is to try to jet it open, if we can get the sanitary board there, or we've got to dig the pipe up and replace it. And I think,
so this is gonna save man.
yeah, potentially it could save some pipe. You know, I think we're working down the line. We'd like to have a camera as well at some point, so we can. When we had Thrasher come in, we didn't get the pipes very clean, so you couldn't get the camera up very far. If you had a machine like this, you could clean the pipes, get that material out, and then you can camera them and see what the condition of your pipes are and things like that. So
Big
Nate,
issue,
if I can,
piece of equipment is you can maintain the drop inlets and then that way your pipes don't get plugged. Once you get everything cleaned up, you can go through on routine maintenance and clean the drop inlets. And you don't have the problem with the pipes plugging, so that's what takes time, that's the most time consuming part, cleaning the pipes out. Once you start cleaning the drop inlets out, you're not gonna have pipes plugged up unless they collapse.
Did Mike have something he was?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Randy is right, and we've got, and also the mayor's right. The one over on Monroe Street, I think it is. That's not going to help us there because it is all rotten over there. But the one on 11th Street, we've got some that's on Broad Street and things like that. And Randy, you are right. Once we can get these cleaned out and maintain them, which we haven't been able to do for years, once we can do this, and then I think that will help us on, instead of having to keep continuing to buy piping to put in for drain lines, that would be a cost-efficient thing to buy, to be honest with you.
And to me, it's like a trickle effect. You keep your drop inlets and drain lines and all cleaned out. You can keep the water off the blacktop. It just helps with keeping the roads to last longer and everything, you know,
It's a maintenance tool.
from the bottom up, yeah.
We'll try to be very generous with it, you know, something, State Road doesn't have anything to clean their basins out with, so I figure we'll try to enter some kind of agreement with them down the line and clean at least the ones in the city out, stuff goes out of dirt and
Sure,
see,
they'll keep our entryways into our city pretty, gas, and
vegetation.
make things pretty.
So I think that Jane Lou doesn't have anything like this in their wheelhouse, so I think it's something we can offer as a little bit of help and service. to folks as well.
And on out porch. Be a nice.
And the good thing about this, guys, is
There is.
when-
Okay,
sorry about that.
Well, we've been quoted this machine at 100, that's that second email I've got to you from Custom Rebuilt right there. So we're looking at D001396. The price is 117,000. They're gonna give us 11,700 discount, get it out the door, and 105,300 is what they quoted us for this. And Mike and I discussed that this 27 footer, you know, street narrow and things like that, so we think the smaller the machine, the better for us.
This a new one, you said?
No, it's a 2001.
Oh, okay.
It's quite a bit old, but this is another one that they've rehabbed and gone through. This picture,
okay. Thank you.
that's the machine. You got that in the packet.
So, and
We
the-
got first page. I looked at.
it would come from what pot of funding?
ARPA is what I'm.
If
speaking
we
of,
can
right?
do partially, stormwater.
We can, it's completely up to you all. The ARPA, this other page I was talking to you about ARPA, that was kind of another part of the conversation, is to show you what we've got spent so far to just work today through things and we work together to put this together. And then kind of the clean and dirty of it is we've got FY22, FY23, these are the things we've actually spent money on at that point. And then we have what ARPA expenditures are proposed or pending, you know, what things, the projects that are going on that have been completed and we have to spend the money on. So we've got those numbers there in front of you. I put the combo cleaner in there, just those things, show you what that would look like. And so that our net balance without any of these, the camera's not on here, we don't have a price today yet. So that I put down the bottom camera project, the master plan. I'd like to see us do some lighting, streetscape lighting, like we've got half of Main Street that we could buy lights for.
Yeah,
Um,
and give those speakers we talked
Yeah,
about.
stuff like that.
Music.
I'd like to have, do a project. They're not all working, you know, we're got two working. So they're all old sodium bulbs. I figured the heads are gonna get replaced when we do this. And then. I just tried to say, these are kind of, in my mind, the things that are priorities to me. You guys have other things you want to stick on there, but. You know, to do those things, we've got about $786,000. Give or take a little bit. To do those things with it.
Really, the trucks at the top,
Yeah,
just my opinion.
okay.
You gotta have them.
What do you think? I think it's a good idea.
Would you like to make a motion?
Very good.
Where?
It is. Yeah, and how much is it?
No, I'm gonna take all that.
Okay,
How do we want to, do you want to go back to the conversation about how we want to fund it, or we're just going to fund it from
I
ARPA?
think we're fine where you, plugged it in at.
I'll make a motion to purchase a used combo sewer jetter vacuum for
105, 300.
105, 300, I think, back up my problem.
Using ARPA funding.
Using ARPA funding, it'll be fine with me, put that right in the motion.
Thank you, Randy. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Yes.
Councilman Randy Bowen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump,
Yes.
and Councilman Herb Curtis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Now we're down to the all important.
You should,
That's right. It's gotta
take
take
round
regard-
two off of, yeah,
but
but 10%.
Gosh, money.
Cat issues.
Well, Councilman Gold, what do you got on?
Well, I thought, I know this is a major issue on Fourth Street. Now we've been made aware it's a major issue on Locust, so that's two small communities. I'm sure it's a problem on West Second Street. More than likely. I know we have a duck problem. I have to make a phone call for tonight.
I'll take all of them
Mhm.
at my house, ducks.
If you want to relocate them, I'll give you her
They're hard to
number.
relocate,
You can hardly do it.
They are.
I get it.
It's hard to check it.
That's what but I don't know, we'll come up with some kind of creative idea. I just thought it would be a good start to talk about it. And maybe he got the ordinance, we can look over that and see where we can go and what we can do with it. But I was thinking on a situation with these cats and there's no ownership whatsoever. If we could make it cooperative with people in the neighborhood and provide them traps and have them trap them, we go pick them up. Maybe use the opioid funds to have them fixed, because that's irresponsible pet ownership while you're on drugs, so we might be able to use that money. I don't know about that, but anyway, and maybe work out a relocation thing where we could take them and get with some farmers, maybe spread out over 4 or 5 counties and take cats to these farms that are fixed, that can, work the barn and keep the stuff out of the barn. And I don't know, I just said that was just an idea I had when I seen that problem.
I think that's a great idea. I'd like to build on that. But we not have homeowners do it.
That would be
Hire a trapper.
That would be like a cooperative between the people that are being affected and
Yeah.
city trying to be a liaison. I don't know. I think there's farmers out there that would accept a couple cats for their barns and stuff. I don't know. If not, then maybe it's a crazy idea, but cats survive pretty good, obviously, on their own. And
Very last.
some a couple,
It has.
some
it's hard.
food in the barn, and they've got a good home, and they're cleaning up the barns for the people. Thank you, city clerk, I appreciate it.
Did you all hear them give us anything about this stuff?
Right, I did hear that.
Oh, man, did I say something wrong?
It's the FBI.
I don't know, it might, I guess we could look and see if it would be ARPA fundable, we could look and see, I don't know, if nothing else, I mean, it wouldn't be at a very. I mean, you're gonna have maybe a few $1,000s in it, if you could just get a couple hundred cats out of town.
See if Josh is down there. I had maybe about there and all, so that.
I mean, you get 15 or 20 from
He's out there.
10 locations, you made a big, and then that might get other people interested.
Oh.
Just start off, just target like 5 places where there's the most complaints and work them for a few months, 6 months or something. And then if you have success and there ain't no kickback on the way you're doing it and everything, then go to another section.
It smells so bad.
I provided you all that ordinance from 2006. I didn't think it was that bad of an ordinance, honestly. Reading it.
No.
It's just doing it, and I think that we can enter into any kind of agreements essentially. I think to hire any agents to trap them or whatever, probably certified person would be better. One thing that stood out to me, I mean, how do you fund it? We could do it whatever revenues we want to decide we could do it from.
Many different things you could blame it on.
Sure. The cats, did you get any word that today? We didn't make any phone call?
I couldn't get a hold of them, we'll throw back in and catch them. I talked to him. Mike Francis? Yeah, I mean, every time I called him, he was out.
I'll tell you, if we go through animal control and go through that thing over there, it's gonna be so much pushback because there's just so much negativity about euthanization and stuff like that. I'm just thinking the way around it's relocation.
Don't disagree, but where do we go up? So we identify someone to take them and then we say, let's go out there and catch a couple cats.
Well, maybe we need to enter into an agreement with some farmers, you know, if that would be a viable way of doing it. And get 6 or 8 farmers that would accept 6 or 8 of them or something, that's a start. And then once you see if it works or not, then you could expand it a little bit or just do, I mean, work on 50 cats at a time.
Make Randy.
Just start out and get your feet wet, and then if you make a mistake, you're not making a crucial mistake, and you're not, because you know there's gonna be so many naysayers and backlash because of everything the way that, I mean, I understand people and their animals, but people just, they expect things to be, you know, they're like rabbits, they don't know what to do, they need somebody to help them.
I guess from just my standpoint is, at some point you gotta catch the cats and you're holding the cats for some amount of time. And where are we holding them and what are we doing with them in that interim, whether that's 5 minutes of getting them to the farm.
That's what I say, you gotta put all this together first.
Yeah,
You know, if you trap it, you gotta have arrangements to get it fixed. So that's the first thing you gotta do. I mean, if you trap them, you're gonna fix
We previously did
it.
trap.
Cause you get,
Did you?
We had traps, we didn't necessarily trap them. We purchased the traps and we would take the traps to the resident. And they could trap them, we would just basically supply the trap and then.
Whack to the cat.
that's what the beauty of this.
Occasionally, I think the streets would put the traps in the back of the truck and transport them to the pound and drop them off. But then I think there ended up being some sort of issue with that, or, and it was quickly scrapped because it just wasn't working.
When I talked to Mike Francis today, the animal control guy, he said that they were just, I asked him to actually come to me. And he declined. He said that he was told by his boss that they were just gonna sit back and see what the city wanted to do. Which was basically punt. They don't want to do anything with cats. And he said they used to supply traps. If people had a complaint, they'd take a trap. He said, but then people were threatening, they'll destroy the traps, they'll turn the cats loose. There were threats to sue them because they were taken to the pound and euthanized, whatever. So they just quit giving the cats.
That's what I say, you gotta have a plan in place before you catch one cat.
Right.
You gotta have some place, you gotta have something that you gotta do to them. Cause if you start out with one cat and I brought a cat home from the racetrack and it had 7 and I thought it's gonna cost me $500, or I'm gonna have 27 at the end of summer.
But I think
So,
the flaw in the plan of neuter them and turn them back loose, you still have the overpopulation of cats. And you still have the threat of disease running rampant. That doesn't eliminate them from getting people's trash, urinating all over their plants. You know, you still have all that part.
There is a problem over, Ms. Lasha came, she has a real problem. She cannot utilize her front porch, her back porch.
And that was the neighborhood that the.
if you pull off one successful neighborhood, maybe some residents and citizens would take it upon themselves to use the same plan you put together and find some more places to take them. And we could just be the funding agency to get them fixed, and maybe if we get these neighborhoods, just do it one time for one neighborhood, and if it works pretty good and everybody's happy and they all don't hate us, and maybe the next neighborhood will do it, take it upon herself and come to us and say, hey, we got 5 cats, you pay for them, we'll take them to this farm. Whatever. I mean, it's just, there's gotta be an answer, but I mean, they're gonna take over if you don't.
I can get that.
Did you hear, Nate, when we had a discussion with the county about teaming up with them and paying like an annual fee or something, city paid for the county for like the dog catcher picking up cats and taking them to a pound? No, who's gonna try to get together as teams, start that program. That made them right for you. Yeah.
I still don't understand why we pay the county when we as residents in the city pay a county fee to, or pay to fund the animal control. So I don't know why we would double pay on that.
Because they won't deal with cats. They've been through it.
Why won't they do it?
Well, I'm sorry, they're animal control.
They've been threatened to be sued, and their traps and stuff are threatened to be destroyed if it's in there. So they
Well,
just
then,
found it easier to do nothing.
these people right here feeding them needs to be fine.
That's the question I
That's the
had.
question.
Why can't we start there?
Because we do have an ordinance on the book.
You don't
And
feed
it does
them,
say
and they, get into everything and garbage and
Eventually
just-
they'll leave.
there's no good solution. They don't belong in neighborhoods. They belong out in the farms. If they're not owned by a human and they're not taken care of by a human, they don't need to be cohabiting in neighborhoods. They need to be
And
relocated.
here's the thing, if people backlash on that, let them go take care and remove the cats and take them out themselves. If they don't think it's humane enough, let them handle the situation.
At 7:30 every evening in McGarry, there's a person who feeds all of the stray cats. Can we not start there? Can someone here have a conversation with her or send a letter? And then Sherry has a name of someone else who traps privately. And can we have a conversation with that person once she gets us the name about doing that, trapping them? And maybe following through on Randy's suggestion that we find a location to take them to.
I don't have an issue with any of that. One question I have from this ordinance is that this says you're supposed to register your cat. And I think at some point, did you get an answer?
I
on
did
that?
get an answer on that.
Okay, what happened?
So during that brief period of time that we were, supplying traps to people, approximately 10 people came in and registered their cats. They were given a tag. The fee was somewhere between $3 and $5, and it was basically just to cover the cost of the tag. There was a simple one-page form that had the owner's information, a brief description of the cat, and the tag number.
And I think that just by reading this ordinance, it was essentially so that if you picked up a cat with a tag, you could find the owner, but the cats you're picking up without a tag are gonna be assumed to be ownerless. Right, for all intents and purposes.
And that's the majority.
And like I said, that was by the, during that brief period of time that we were supplying the traps, like I said, about, what's relayed to me was about 10 people came in. And registered their cats.
I think that's, this whole thing, that's my biggest concern. It's not a huge concern, but we start tagging somebody who claims ownership of a cat. We're gonna get ourselves in the middle of that argument. No, that's my cat. Well, how do I know it's your cat? I mean, I think if anybody comes and says it's a cat, we'll give it to them. We're not gonna try to keep the cat, but we're gonna run into it.
I thought we had.
I've been feeding that cat for 10 years. That's my cat.
Said you couldn't let your cat roam free.
And we do, and we do.
So we
Right.
don't have to follow through on the registration, right?
On the book saying that we shall, I think, right? Not may, it's shall.
Shall, doesn't mean we have to, right?
So it's clearly states about.
I think shall doesn't mean we have. I
I don't think.
think when it says may, I think may or may not. I think it says shall.
Okay.
I think you're good. You go out and find 90-year-old lady for feeding stray cats, you're gonna stir up some bad feelings there, I think, in a hurry. Too. I mean, I
think
know
her
it's
neighbors
cool.
would be appreciative.
Yeah.
She put $4,000 or so in her mulch, that rubber mulch.
That might be the only people she has. Is a stray cats. They wrote a song, Stray Cat Strap.
And I got cat scratch fever from stray cats, so there you go, Ted Nugent.
Okay, discussion for another time, right? Gather more
Well,
information.
yeah, we'll like get some pricing, what trapping looks like.
Okay.
We can find, I mean,
You get the name of that person.
Maybe needs to get the name of the farmer.
Yeah.
I'll call
Yeah.
them, and if they're on the other side of the pound, they're what they're doing.
Okay, we'll move on to city manager update.
Well,
Thank you.
I got a couple other things to add to this, but I wanted to put that. Stonewall Jackson's gonna be celebrating the 50th anniversary. Kevin Doctor's gonna be at the meeting, the next regular meeting. We're gonna write a proclamation to honor their 50 years of being in service to the community and just Your typical things, want to put that on the radar, wear your nicest tie, nice shirt, all that kind of stuff. We, annexation, once I get this camera RFP off my desk, that's my next thing I'm moving towards. We're gonna try to, we've had a request to be annexed to the city by someone out on Second Street, we've got to get to them before winter. And then Walmart, so we're working on all that next. We did receive the codification draft or final draft or whatever you want to call it. They sent us a bunch of boxes of code about that thick. But I still think there's some major stuff that we've got to get sorted out there. Taking the scab between the mayor and I, you know, the code as they wrote it has 2 chief administrative officers of the city. So if we stuff like that, we've got to go through and figure out who's doing what and make sure that it makes sense. But they gave us a web link, so it's online. That draft code is. I'm not going to publicize it until we get it kind of straightened out. But if you'd like to see that, and go through it. Let me know, and I'll shoot you an email with it. But I just figured Brian and I take the first step of getting the low hanging fruit kind of cleaned up before we start sharing it with council at large. And then once we're to a good place, we'll have to pass an ordinance to enact that code.
Well, we need to read it too.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I want everybody to have a shot at it. There's no reason to have 25 just read through it, and stuff that's going to be easily figured out. So
Sure.
we'll just try to do that for you. And the only other thing I'll add is the Columbia Club continues on the roof. Getting an update on that today. We make contact with contractors.
I did, he's
Okay.
out of town, but he was supposed to, the shingles were supposed to be delivered today.
Okay.
And he was telling his guys, go up there and clean it.
Yeah, we had a couple some slate piles and stuff, push over what it looks like. So still working on that, but I think it's coming along pretty well, and I think we'll have a roof on there.
Well, I did have people sometimes be concerned that they left the whole roof uncovered in the rain.
Yeah.
What's the damage inside from all that rain?
Actually, he took some generators up there and some fans, swept that floor, got all dried up, and miraculously the floor was.
No more.
Now, I was surprised.
I just don't know why you left it
I
uncovered.
went in there, I went in there last week and looked through it. I was surprised.
We don't
Probably
know
need a
if
little bit
that
more.
contractors.
Maybe something like that. I'm a woman.
Learning.
About the concrete chunks or whatever, the debris in front of the
I
building.
know, can they not clean up a little bit?
We can ask them to, and that's like, we're kind of caught between 2 projects. So we had the
Okay,
former contractor who said, hey, I'm gonna demobilize, let this guy come in and do the roof, do his tearing up, and then the end of it. I think this is a little bit of fun with the intern, but there's still cleanups left to be done in the first job. It's not.
yeah,
That's where we're at. Just want to let you guys know that stuff. And so
thank you.
we'll be talking with the architects in the coming weeks, try to sit down there next steps, get the facade locked up here.
Landmarks, sort of.
Good. So that's it, unless you guys have any other questions. for me.
Where are we on our new signage for?
And we're going to take a look at that at Landmarks. You're welcome to come.
I punted, I asked them to figure out a
Probably.
light style. Like we talked about the lights that are broken, so I think the heads there have got to be replaced and go to an LED kind of form. So at that point, we're gonna get 4 decades lights on there. Let's pick whatever light we decide we want to have, and let's make that the style we buy for all the rest of these.
Is there any solar out there?
I can tell you from experience about solar lighting. I've tried it at home. I experimented with various ones, and then also at the courthouse. And because I wanted to put solar at on the flag of the triangle. Because we live in West Virginia and we have a lot of gray days. You're not gonna
Oh, I
get solar.
understand.
LED
But-
is very, very.
Because I thought that over at the city park parking lot over along the river, it would be less expensive to do solar lighting there. But after watching the flags at the courthouse and the lights on top of those, those don't work half the time. And they just don't have enough charge time. And then lots of times in the winter, fall, spring, sometimes you have a lot of days where you don't have a whole lot of sunlight and. you just
They
don't-
need to bring back gas lighting.
I hear you.
You have to refuse yourself from that decision.
But good thought, because I thought the same thing, but kind of let the county.
And some of it. Covered that.
Which
Yes,
one?
it does.
Okay.
I'm sure the flags too. Do you have a flag for?
I just know the grass.
And those were new flags.
Those flags were new, yeah, I was surprised when we buy them. No, those put up. We're sure we work hard for that.
Memorial Day, they took new ones up this year.
Yes, it's
Ray, ask him.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's my ward there.
So that.
They not have a park, but I got a big cemetery.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
I
Appreciate
appreciate
it. Thanks, Mike.
Did you get the parade thing for the?